Okay, so for the real-time strategy game, I'm making planets, and seeing as we need a lot of planets, and they're not really hard to make, I'm making a tutorial to show you how to make planets. So the planets we're going to be making are going to be similar to the lines of this one, relatively easy to make, and it looks pretty good, although it's not all that detailed, but it's good enough. Um, so let's get started. So, by the way, in the lower left corner you can see what keys I'm pressing. Like if I push P, which I shouldn't have pushed. Anyways, so start with your default scene in Blender.
What the heck is Magneto?
Delete the cube, we don't need it.
I'm fighting Magneto, dude.
Then add an icosphere.
I'm fighting Magneto.
Make sure the subdivisions is at 3. This will be the basis for your planet.
I'll
Switch to edit
I
mode
probably won't be here when you get back.
and deselect it. Control Tab will move over to pick what to select. Choose face mode, and then push C so you get this little drawing cursor, and you can draw all over the planet. So draw a few continent structures. It doesn't have to. There's no real like rules for this. I guess you probably should avoid making pointy things when you can, especially points that come together. Those will probably cause problems. Um, Big round shapes usually respond the best to some of the smoothing we do later on. So once you've got your first set of continents picked out, hit E for extrude, but don't move the mouse at all, just click right away. Then hit S to scale it. Oh wait, before we want to pick scale, you want to go down here, click this, and switch to 3D cursor. So then if the 3D cursor is somewhere, it will scale in relation to the 3D cursor. Shift S will pop it back to the center. So click S to scale, and then type 1.05. And that will get it popped out the right distance off of the surface of the planet. So then on those continents we raised, select some more chunks. And this is going to be the higher up area. And again, same process. Extrude, click, scale 1.05. But you don't have to go up. You can also go down. So let's kind of select a river structure. That kind of flows through here. Doesn't take up all the planet, just some of it. And then extrude, click, scale 0.95. And that should do it. So this is the basis for our planet. Not much to show. We can turn off the 3D grid over here. We don't want it. So now we need to smooth it out. First step to doing that is hitting shading smooth. Select it. You have to be in normal mode, not edit mode. And it looks pretty nasty. So then move over to the right, click the wrench, click add modifier, all the way down to subdivision surface. And that will kind of mush it around a bit, make it look nice. Render doesn't matter. View should be at 1. We don't want too many polys. Currently we're at 678. Well, tris, but that's before. Anyways, yeah. So, but it still looks kind of mushy. What we want to do is we want to make it crisper. So what we want to do, switch to edit mode, switch to edge select, and hit Control R. And then this purple line should show up when you hover over things. So align it to the edge, click, and then move it down. and then click again on the same edge and move it up. Now you can see that this edge has suddenly become much more crisp. Yet it's not super sharp, it's crisp and rounded reasonably. So we're going to do this for all of the edges that our planet has. All the ridges and stuff. Doo. And it is a little repetitive, but it's really worth it. The planet will look great after this. Did I get them all? I think I did. Yep, that's all of them. And now the planet looks nice, crisp, and smooth. So that's it. All you have to do is hit apply on the modifier in object mode. And then this is our planet's geometry. Next step, we need to get it ready for texturing in order to make it look nice and stuff. Because, I mean, a plain white planet isn't all that exciting. So switch over to UV editing and click drag the corner over here and switch this to, no, that's not it. Oh, down here. Switch this over to a properties panel, so then we get this thing back. So we're not actually going to touch the UV grid yet. What we need to do is we need to cut up our model by marking seams. So in order to do that, you select the bottom line of a ridge, go to select, push E, pushing E will get edge loop, and then to mark seam, push space, type mark, and mark seam should appear. And you don't have to type mark every time. Next time we add a seam, it will still be there in the thing. Also, while we're at it, this middle ridge here, that's extra geometry we don't need. So select that, hit X, and dissolve edges for those middle sections. That will help cut down the amount of polys that are needed for the final model. It also makes things a little bit easier. It's not a required step though if you're too lazy, but I mean, it helps a little. So then again, go around to all the ridges, select to cut out their middle lines, and mark the seams of their lower ones. And what a seam does is it provides a cutting point along the texture. Texturing spheres isn't necessarily easy. And it's much easier if you're only texturing little spots on the sphere instead of the entire wrapped, convoluted mess as a whole. Although we won't really get into advanced texturing in this tutorial. We'll just slap a generic texture on the whole thing. Oh, I want to mark that one. Looks like these are the last ones. Should probably save it. Okay, I think I got all of them. Look around quick. Yeah, that's all of them. So now that your model is all seamed up, marked and seamed, and such, currently we're at 6,000 tris. That's a okay number. It's not great, but it's okay. So then hit A to select all of it in edit mode, hit U, and then just do plain old unwrap. And over here on the right, you'll see that it cut the model up along all of the seams, cut out little holes and stuff, and spread it out onto the texture. So while it's still all selected, hit New, keep it at 1024, UV grid, and click OK. And over here, switch this to texture mode, and delete the light. Okay. So now, quickly look around the model, make sure that nothing is overly stretched. You can also check for stretching in the UV editor by clicking the stretch check mark and area, and the redder it is, or further away from blue, the more stretched it is. Although it doesn't look all that bad. There's a little stretch there. Nothing we really have to worry about that terribly. So now we need to do some simple shading. So with this selected, over here in the camera, all the way down there's bake down here. Switch the bake mode to ambient occlusion and click bake. Give it a second while it figures out its stuff, and boom, instant shading. Isn't that handy? So go over here, save this image out, and then we're going to switch over to GIMP. Although keep Blender open, we're going to be switching back and forth. So switch to GIMP, open, and open the thing. First of all, it's a little bit grainy, so adding a really soft Gaussian blur, like 2 pixels, will probably help that a bit. Over in Blend, if you switch back to Blender and hit Alt-R when you have after clicking on the texture window, it should refresh the texture. But, okay. You're gonna have to open it though, because it's technically not using the texture we saved, which is just quick open. And in Blender, okay, I'm getting mixed up here. So first, I have to save it from GIMP. Yeah. And then in Blender, I hit Alt-R, and that refreshes it, and you see it smooth it out a bit. So let's create some terrain. So, new layer, filters, render, clouds, plasma. And add as much turbulence as you can. Click OK. Let it do its thing. Rainbowy plasma. Which doesn't look good at all on our planet. But we're not going to use this, really. Apply Gaussian blur to it. Again, 2 pixels will work. And then go image, or no, go colors, map, gradient map. Oh, we got to do gradient map, but first, I don't know, that's a little bug in GIMP. Tool window gets all messed up. Tools. Where's gradient? Oh, blend. Okay, so in the gradient tool, click on the gradient and scroll all the way down till you'll find this nauseating headache is what it's called. It's a bunch of stripes and stuff. So then go to colors, map, gradient map, and it should apply that to our texture. And then go colors, desaturate, make it black and white. And then over here, over mode, going to mode multiply and adjusting the alpha a little. And that should add some turbulence to it. So if we save it out, switch over to Blender, now it's shaded and it's more interesting. Over back in GIMP, probably should apply some brightness contrast, add more contrast to the shading layer. Down this a little, duplicate it, layer, transform, flip, and then also flip the other way. Or did I just do horizontally twice? I did, didn't I? Okay, and now let's add some color. New layer. Let's make this planet purple. I haven't done purple yet. Reddish purple. Pink, maybe? Pink will work. Hit Control period will fill it fast, and then you can just scroll through the blending modes till you find something that works well. Usually dodge works pretty well. Save it out. But that's way too hot pink. For a respectable planet, at least. Let's try color. That's a much safer option. Yeah, that looks better. So we're almost done now. Now we gotta add a little extra flair to make it, we're gonna change the colors of the individual layers a little. So just select some faces on one of them and figure out which chunk matches that layer. It's this chunk over here. So this chunk, grab your free select tool and just kind of select a cutout of the shape. Okay, so now that it's selected, we're going to change the color. Now for farther down colors, we're going to want deeper, and upper up, we're going to want higher elevations, we're going to want lighter. Now the general way for doing deeper colors that actually look good is you make them slightly darker, you up their saturation, and you move the hue cursor closer to blue. Like, don't make it actually blue, but make it closer to blue. Click OK, Control period, and save it out. And now the inner area is more of a purple. So let's work on the next layer, which looks like it's all this. Well, actually, next layer is the color we want. So go to one layer above that. Select a bunch of polygons, except we don't want those polygons. We want these ones. That's too high. Okay, so it looks like we got these 3 chunks and those 3 chunks, if I'm noting these correctly. So, grab your tool and start selecting. Oh, I didn't need that bottom one. Hold Control when you start selecting a tool to unselect an area. Holding Shift will add to the selected area, so we can add these upper pieces. And then pick the color we used last time, except now we're going to make it brighter, decrease the saturation, and move the cursor closer to yellow, which it's going to move closer to red before it loops back over to yellow. Click OK, Control period, or Control comma, Control E to export it out, and I didn't mean to toggle that. And Alt R will update the texture. So now we only have one. Now we only got to do the little top pieces. Which I guess was pretty obvious. I didn't even need to select those. And select these. Select those. Oh, I forgot to do the add selection, so it lost this one down here. And then change the color again. Would make it further red, but it wraps around all the way over to the orange. Drag down the saturation, drag up the value, click OK. Export it out again. And it's almost done. I just need one little touch to make it a little more detailed, because right now it's kind of bland. Let's add some noise. New layer, white is fine. Filters, noise, RGB noise. Slide it all the way up to 11. Click OK. Colors, desaturate, yeah. And then switch it to multiply and move the opacity accordingly. Export it out one last time. Hit on the planet. Although it's a little too fruity colored for my taste. You can always go to the color area and adjust the hue and saturation. Tone it down a little because it's too happy looking. Or if I wanted more yellow and less orange. That just made it worse. There we go. And that's it. That's the finished planet. So all you gotta do now, export it to an OBJ file, save the Blender file. Oh yeah, and we might want to make a cute little picture for the design document where we're keeping all the track of all the planets. Switch back to default view, and we're gonna want to set it up for taking pictures. So switch the camera to 512 by 512. Switch to camera view. Select the camera. Shift F is fly mode, so start scrolling, zoom in on the planet. So you got a nice good view of it. Go over to scene mode, turn on environmental lighting, and change the horizon color to white. If you hit render, you'll notice the planet isn't textured. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because we didn't set up the planet's material. So click material, new material, then we gotta set up the texture for the material, which is different from the texture you see in the viewport. They're not related. Well, they're a little related, but... So new texture, type image or movie, open our texture up. And now if you render it, it'll be all sloppy. And that's because it's not reading the UV coordinates we made out. So go over down to mapping, coordinates, UV, render again, and now you should have your happy little planet. I should zoom in a little more. Happy little planet. Oh yeah, and make this 100%, so it's crisper. Yay! And you could save this image going image, save as image. And then upload it to the document. It's as easy as that. Whoop. To check the tris count, simply switch to edit mode, select it all. So 6,216. So for elevations, the lowest one is 0.95. Then we got ground level. Then we got one elevation above that and another elevation. So those are the levels. We only have one texture, that's the fruity purple one. Texture resolution. If open quotes, close quotes, fun planet created for the tutorial. And that's it. I guess this marks the end of the tutorial. Yay. And if you're feeling extra adventurous, you can compress it as a zip and upload it to the Google Drive, which is somewhat important, because if that doesn't happen, then there's no way we'll be able to access your fancy little planet. So, file manager. Compress a zip, upload files. And that's it. All done. Ending recording in 3, 2, 1.